everyone, and welcome to the Human Design Podcast with me, your host, Emma Dunwoody. I'm a qualified master coach and human behaviour specialist, as well as being a qualified human design coach. And I work with clients every single day to answer the big questions. Who am I? Why am I here? And what is my purpose? I also assist them to transition from the person they think they should be to the person they really are on the inside. I teach people how to actually live their design instead of just knowing it. And if this is something that you want to do too, well, stay tuned or reach out for private coaching or Human Design Unpacks, where I show you exactly how to live your design. Hey, everyone, and welcome to this episode of the Human Design Podcast. Before we get into today's episode, I want to share something really amazing with you. And it's actually one of our new Millions of Millionaires sponsors. So to introduce this body graph chart software that we've been using that's been mind-blowing. So I want to welcome the amazing Taylor Jyson, who is my incredible operations manager. Welcome along, Taylor.
Hi, thanks for having me.
I'm so excited to have you here. This is actually something that we implemented when?
April.
Yeah.
And this year.
We were just trialing it out because they'd reached out to us in regards to sponsoring the podcast or something like that, wasn't it? And so it kind of wasn't even on our radar, and we tried it out and we had such low expectations. And then what happened?
Well, I remember sending you a message going, Emma, why are we not using this? Because I was mind blown. You know, we get a lot of requests for stuff like that. And, you know, there's new softwares all the time. And I clicked on it, like you said, with very low expectations. And I started looking through what they can do. And I got so excited. You know, the MG in me was like, oh my God, we have to use this. And I saw the potential of it. And it has delivered more than expected. It's really awesome.
Amazing. Now, before we get into the actual numbers, because I know numbers with Taylor is a thing in our business. She loves to share all the numbers. Let's just tell the listeners exactly who it's for and what it is.
Yeah, so it's a great tool for anyone who uses human design in their business. So if you're a human design reader, a human design coach, or just someone who uses human design in your business, if you incorporate it into whatever you do, it's a way for you to embed an actual human design chart tool into your website. So, you know, if you want someone to get their human design chart, you probably send them to an outside platform somewhere, go to this website, put in your details and get your chart, whatever that platform might be. There's a couple big ones. And what's cool about this is that it allows you to put that tool on your own website and it's yours. So when someone comes and, puts their information into your website, they get their chart, and then you can hook it up to your email list, to your newsletter. You can have it linked to your own content. You can customize the reports afterwards that they get, so it's your own descriptions of what, this type is or this profile. So that's kind of what it is.
Oh my God, I love it. And it's so cool because I actually remember when Jenna Zoe, because it must be the same software that Jenna Zoe used and before anyone else. Yeah, right. And I was always like, wow, her chart looks so beautiful and it's on her website. That's so cool. So yeah, when we started using it, I was like, this is beautiful. I'm really excited that we can do it. But let's talk hard numbers. Like we have had some serious success with this, just adding this to our business. So tell everyone a little bit about the growth that we've experienced through using this.
Yeah. So since implementing it into our website in April, there have been over 4,000 people that have downloaded their chart through the website. And that's unique. That's not, someone who does it twice, because a lot of people, they'll go back because they won't download the PDF or something, or they lost it or misplaced it. That's unique chart downloads. So it's even more for people doing it twice. And it's been really amazing. It's more than tripled the size of the email list. And, you can set up sequences afterwards for people to, give them more information and keep everything in-house.
Yeah. And because one of the really big things for us is obviously human design made simple. So it gives us the opportunity to give our way of teaching human design directly to the people who want it. And I love that. I love that every single person that wants to get their chart, that downloads it, we can then support them on their journey straight away, which is, of course, what you set up, because you're amazing, to make sure that not only do they get their chart, but they also get this support, free content support that helps them as they're new to human design and on their journey. So beautiful. So how do people access this? What's it called? And I know that there's a benefit for listeners of the podcast.
Yes. So you can go to the link in the show notes, or you can go to bodygraphchart.com. And they have been kind enough to give the listeners of the Human Design Podcast a 50% off discount for 12 months, which is huge because it's already inexpensive to begin with. And then the 50% discount is going to put it at $25 a month. That's in US dollars. So wherever you are in the world, it'll be, a little bit different, but 50% off for 12 months. And the code is Human Design Podcast. And we'll put that in the show notes too for everyone. And one of the other things I want to say that's really cool about this chart tool is that it's 100% customizable, and it actually gives Chiron and the 4 arrows, which is what a lot of chart tools don't do that. So that's one thing that a lot of people are drawn to when they go to get our chart from our website is, I can get the arrows because of it, or my Chiron gates.
I love that. It's so cool. So check out the show notes, people. Get on it, because really it is such a powerful and, as Taylor says, inexpensive tool. Like, it paid for itself in the first 2 days, I seem to remember, or first day, I seem to remember. So it's so valuable, and it gives you the opportunity to really build your brand and your communication with your clients. So thank you. Go check it out. Hey, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of the Human Design Podcast. We are doing the next in the profile line series, and we're on to line 3. And I'm a line 3. So one of the people that's going to be talking about their experience today is me. I'm also joined by the amazing Tiffany Clark. Welcome, Tiffany.
Hello.
What do you want to let everyone know what your profile, your type, authority, and profile are, please?
Yes, I am a 1-3 emotional manifesting generator.
Amazing. Awesome. So if you guys love what you hear here today, we have got so much more information. We actually did the line 3 panel, blew my mind. And I've been in my experiment. I worked out the other day. I've been in my experiment now. I think it's 5 or 6 years, or nearly 7 years. If you count the first time I actually saw my design at 7 years, and it blew my mind on that panel, because we just got into such nuances of being a line 3 that I just hadn't heard. And I think it's a double whammy, isn't it? Being a line 3, it's such an experiential thing. We really have to have the experience to really know what's true for us. So if you're interested, if this sounds really great, please go and check out HDX, because the panels are absolutely mind-blowing. And for me personally, because I'm a line 3, I just loved it. So Tiffany, welcome to the podcast. You are one of our current Mastermind 1.0 members. Do you want to just share with the audience a little bit about your experience? How are you enjoying it?
Oh my gosh. So the Mastermind has, honestly, it really has been life-changing. And that's not a word that I throw around lightly. And it's the same thing with the girls that I have, the women that I've gotten to know. I mean, we've formed such bonds, and I'm not even a 4 line, but I mean, I'm so excited about the community, but also just knowing myself so much deeper and in a different way, and just really getting to dive into the different pieces that I hadn't quite dove all the way into yet, even though I'm also an HDX member. So I have loved it.
Oh my God, I'm so excited. And just before we started this recording, one of the things that you were saying that I thought was amazing, because this is one of my high values when it comes to most things. I was going to say personal development, but you said the transformation has been huge and fast. And I think that's something that, do you want to talk to that a little bit?
Yes. So the first thing that comes to mind is something that I told Taylor. I said, do not tell Emma this, because I want to be able to tell her. So I'm a 1-3. Angel is a girl in the Mastermind. Oh, I'm really trying to get away from calling myself a girl. I'm a woman.
Yeah, you are a woman. You're a powerful woman.
Yes. Which is also part of what is brought out in us in the Mastermind, right? Is just, come on, be your woman self. But when Angel came to me as a 3-5, so a 3, inner conscious, she asked me about starting a podcast with her. So I know we've talked in the mastermind that I've had this idea about starting a podcast. Well, she asked me to start one with her, and it didn't even dawn on me to play small.
Love it.
Which I know for a fact in the beginning of the mastermind, I would have been in my head. I would have said no. I would have felt scared. I would have thought, no, not me. Who am I to do this? But honestly, having the conversations that we have in the mastermind with one another, they are so uplifting. And everybody there is telling you your dreams are possible.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they really believe it.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're seeing it, like this is one of the things why I love all the programs, whether it's HDX or the Mastermind or even 2.0 at the moment. Like I get to watch all of your dreams come true. And in that process, my dreams are coming true. And I think that is the most beautiful thing. I got goosebumps when you told me about you and Angel doing a podcast together. Oh my God. Like it's going to be the best storyteller podcast ever. I love it. So let's get into talking about being a line 3. There's so much that we could dive into, but today I really want to focus on a couple of the finer points. Okay. So I just choked on my own spit again. I really got to get over and stop doing that. So for those of you listening, what is a line 3? Okay, so a line 3 is an experiential learner. It's oftentimes I'll say to people, I know for me personally, like oftentimes you don't even know the answer to your questions or what you want or what you like or what you don't like until you've had an experience. So oftentimes the line 3 can feel really confused and unsure until they have a physical experience. And once they have the experience of something, then they have a lot more clarity. And I know for me, this has been a game changer because you guys would have heard me talk about how I'm a really messy person. I'm an emotional manifesting generator, line 3. So there's a lot of kind of inconsistency up and down, messiness about me. And this is one of the things that really set me free to know that I am an experimenter. Like I'm a person that sometimes I'm going to run around. It's going to look like I'm banging into walls, but I'm not. I'm actually having these experiences. So I would just really love to talk to you, Tiffany, about, because you're a 1-3 as well. I think sometimes the 1-3s, I have always thought like you guys kind of inverted commas get away with it because you've got the line 1, like that authority, that that knowledge seeker, investigator can kind of almost like steer off some of the banging into walls or falling down or scrape knees. And it's really interesting working with so many 1-3s recently. I realized that, yes, that's true, but there's also this other part of you that's like the 1 can stop you having experiences altogether and leave you in this loop. So do you want to talk a little bit to how have you learned to really lean into your experiences and learn from them?
Well, definitely through trial and error. One thing that comes to mind is just one of my pastimes, something that I enjoy doing that is definitely a passion of mine, is redoing furniture. And before I would start any piece of furniture, I would investigate. I would look up, okay, this is what I think I want to do to it. I would go on Pinterest, I would do that bit of investigating, not even realizing I was investigating necessarily, but I would figure out what I wanted to do, figure out how to do it, right? And then I would go and I would try it. And once I had that base knowledge, I could go and I could try it several times and I could hone my skill. But I remember, this may actually be getting into the 1 line for a second, but I remember one of my friends who is a 5-1, I always thought that she just did and didn't research before she did her projects. And so I started trying to do that, to jump right into my unconscious first, to jump right into the experiment first. And it didn't go well. It didn't go well doing it that way.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about that, because I suppose with a line 3 being unconscious, like consciously you go and look for information.
But that line 3, tell us a little bit about how you experiment. I think it's interesting, even the words that you use, like it didn't go well. Is that your mind just saying, well, it didn't work out the first time? Or, like, is that part of the process for you? So think a little bit from the unconscious side, like in relation to it didn't go well. Tell us a bit about that.
You know what I think that is actually? I think it's you talk about with a line 3, I think you say you're either winning or you're learning.
That's right.
Like there are no such thing as mistakes. And so I think that's actually old language that's stuck in there saying that I'm sorry.
You're all good. Keep going. It's all good.
But I'm sorry, can you pause for a second?
Yeah, yeah, sure.
I'm sorry.
It's all good. We can edit all of this out.
Thank goodness. I got in.
So then he can hear this bit too. So can just edit up until the end of that mastermind talk discussion, and then we'll dive in from there. Okay. So the purpose of today's episode really is to just get a little bit of clarity on what is the lived experience of being a line 3. So what are line 3s? Line 3s are the experiential learners. They're the ones that you're going to hear that language about, trial and error. You'll often hear me sort of say, I have that energy that I bump my knees and scrape my elbows, but we're always winning or learning. The thing about being a line 3 is that, again, it tends to be a non-linear energy, sort of 2 steps forward, 1 step back. And it can lead us to this energy or this feeling or a belief system that, we're afraid to make mistakes or we have to do things the hard way. That was one of my classics. When we're a line 3, we're really designed to, the knowledge says like life bumps into us, but it's not this negative, like, bad shit always happens. What it's all about is like we're having an experience so that we can learn, we can improve life, we can improve ourselves, we can make a change, we can call out. Like one of the things that a line 3 does is it calls out what's not working. And if that resonates with you, please head into HDX, because I had a long conversation about someone specific in the human design world that, is teaching something that I had to call out because it's just not correct. So this line 3 energy can feel messy. It can feel all over the place. But once you get the hang of it, it's this understanding that you have to have a physical experience before you can get real clarity about what you want, what you don't want, what you like, what you don't like. And of course, we do that through the process of strategy and authority. So let's just start off with a really simple question, because what we want to understand today on a simple level is this difference between having the line 3 in your conscious, which I have because I'm a 3-5, and in your unconscious. And Tiffany has a 1-3. So hers is in the unconscious. So I suppose the first thing I just want to ask, like, do you resonate with being an experiential learner? Because I know that line 1 can get your head in the books, but do you have that lived experience, that innate feeling, of having to learn through experience?
I 100% do. I 100% do. And some of the things that come to mind is just when I love to redo furniture. And so just that whole experience of trial and error, going through, seeing what doesn't work. I was actually just talking to my kids just this morning that the second dresser I ever redid was my daughter's, and I painted it this really cool peach color. And we sat something on top of it, and just a week later lifted it up and paint came off with it. But just a year ago, I painted another dresser for her, another dark color. It's beautiful, but I know what to do now because I have all these years of experience with the different detailed steps that I need to do. So her dresser still looks like it did the first day that I made it, or that I refinished it.
I love that.
So
and
I do.
Over like doing your human design experiment, have you found that you're now kinder to yourself through that process, knowing that, because I suppose being in the unconscious as well, like it's almost like you're not aware that it happens all the time. So it might almost be a little bit more of a smack in the face. Like when I learned about my profile, I was like,
no one needs to tell me this. I know this already. I don't want it to be, worse. I don't want to put that in my head. But for you, it's unconscious. So do you now find that you give yourself permission, or how is your mindset improved to support that you're an experiential learner, and sometimes you're winning and sometimes you're learning?
I absolutely love that saying, by the way. You're not winning,
Right.
You're learning. My son's a 1-3, so I definitely say that to him. I find that I'm so sorry. Can you say the last part of your question? I thought about saying something else and got distracted.
It's all good. So how do you, over the years and over doing your human design experiment, how has your mindset changed? Because potentially before human design, you were like, oh my God, I keep making mistakes. Whereas now you're like, oh, good, I'm making mistakes so that I can do better, create something, change something. So how's your mindset? How's the way you look at this experiential learning shifted for the better?
It's night and day, honestly, because I really did used to get very aggravated with myself, very hard on myself when I would make quote unquote mistakes. But now the whole time is like, I feel like it gives it a purpose. It gives this thing that I keep trying to do purpose, even if it seems like it's something small, whether it's cooking a meal and I didn't put the right spices in it. I mean, I don't know. It just, I'm so much easier on myself.
I love
because
that.
even just thinking about furniture, the first time that I shared on Instagram myself redoing a piece of furniture, like everything was fine until I got to the handles, and I spray painted the handles probably 5 different colors. And I was embarrassed because people were seeing me, but yet I was being very vulnerable about it. But I was so hard on myself.
Yeah.
And then once I learned that I was a 1-3, it just gave me such permission. And then listening to your podcast too about the line 3, I'm so much easier on myself. Like human design has really helped me love myself more. And that is something I say all the time.
I love that. Yeah. I love that. And I totally resonate. For me as a line 3, I definitely, as I said, I used to have the mindset that I have to do things the hard way, because I would see myself try things. And I have this energy within me that I can intuitively model. So sometimes I can see things and I can just get it straight away. And then other times I'm like, wow, why isn't this coming? And what human design's given me as the line 3 is the understanding that it's very much about the journey. It's not, although I'm very results driven, it's actually, I'm in it for the journey. I'm in it for, what works, what doesn't work. Even my business, like one of the things that, I always talk about being a late starter. So I retrained at the age of 40, so all I had a very successful advertising career, but I didn't call it success. By my definition, it wasn't successful. I got paid a lot and promoted a lot, but I was depressed, anxious, unhappy. So I wasn't successful by my definition. Yet all my success and the continued growth of my success has come since I was 40. So I always talk about being a late starter. But one of the things that is so important about my line 3 and how it's played into that is that I am I have the depth of experience, of knowledge. I am the wise woman. I saw this great post on Instagram a while ago that was like, the quote was, I don't want to learn from anyone but older women now. That's it, because they've been on the planet much longer than a lot of other people, and the wisdom that they gather over time is, invaluable. So for me as a line 3, that's one of the things that's really shifted, is like, I have to have the experience to know. And it's all about this. I'm about being on the journey. I want to be on the journey. I want to have the experience. And when things don't, inverted commas, work out, it's because I just haven't, tweaked that thing or learnt that lesson or made that shift yet. And for me, I love it. I love running around bumping into things now. And I certainly think everything's easy. I don't have that same mindset where I used to think, oh my God, I have to do it the hard way. But it was only because I was comparing myself to others. I was comparing myself to seeing people get it the first time, as opposed to me. Sometimes I'll get it and sometimes I won't get it. But when I get it, oh my God, I get it. Does that resonate? Is there anything you want to say to respond to that?
Yes, just that knowing that I'm a line 3 has made me feel more safe to try things, because I think, well, I definitely grew up with perfectionistic tendencies around me. I think of my father in particular, and I carried some of those, of course, with me throughout life, and really learning that I'm a line 3. I mean, I'd already done work on that in the first place, but it's the way that I think of it is the pieces of me that were still trying to hold on to perfection and needing to do it right the first time, those have just dissipated. Those have just dissipated. Kind of like how I was saying, Angel and I are going to be starting a mastermind. We've already talked. We know there are going to be mistakes. We know there's going to be trial and error. We're just going to, as you say, like throw shit at the wall and just, or she actually says, throw magic at the wall.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
Yeah. And just see what happens.
Yeah. And I think that is also, for me personally, as a line 3, like that's one of the things I've very much surrendered to, is that there is magic out there. And if I just keep taking imperfect action in the direction of my dreams, then it all works out. And it really does. Like it all works out. So I think one of the things as a line 3 is like, don't be afraid to make mistakes. It's funny you say that. Like I've never been a perfectionist, but one of the things, especially as I was going through my master coach training, I could see all these tendencies, and I would say, well, I'm not a perfectionist, but I was raised by a perfectionist. So I had certain habits or expectations. And a line 3, the magic of a line 3 really comes to shine bright when they're willing to just take imperfect action. And when you take imperfect action, like magic happens. So much magic. I love it. Now, the next thing that I want to talk about with the line 3, and I think it's really important because we had a huge in-depth conversation about this on the line 3 panel in HDX. So if you're in HDX, please go watch it because it was so life-changing for me. I thought it was really powerful, and I've been in my experiment a long time. But it's this idea of the line 3 is there is this energy of bonds made and broken. So what does that mean? It means that a line 3 is going to be someone that in this society, especially in the paradigm that we're moving out of, under the cross of planning, it actually has this channel that is all about bonding and marriage and, like staying with the one person forever and all this kind of energy. And the line 3 actually is driven by this bonds made and broken. And we had this great discussion at length about how the line 3 will often, make friends. And for me, I've noticed over my life, like I make friends, but really deep friends, really fast. And then I'll change jobs or I'll, move somewhere and I don't speak to them. And it's really interesting because I carried so much guilt for years because I feel like, oh my God, I should have stayed in contact and I should have this and I should have that. And again, understanding this about myself, I was like, wow, like this is how a line 3 operates. They go deep and they're friends with people. And then when they move on, they do move on. Now that doesn't mean forever. What I learned over time, I know one of my oldest and dearest friends, he was actually my first boss in advertising and my last boss in advertising. And, still to this day, we're still very dear friends. And one of the things that I learned about that relationship was that I loved about it is that we can talk every day or every 3 years. And either way, we treat each other with the same love and respect, and there's no judgment either way. So that became a real, even before I came to human design, it was like, that's how I want all my friendships to be. So this can also, the bonds made and broken, my experience in intimate relationships. So many of you would have heard about Justin and I, like we are those, he's a line 6 and we are soulmates. However, we did get together very early. And what can often happen is that that can break, that relationship can break. And then I'm a line 3, right? So it's amplified. one of the things that got us to where we are today is this ability to break our relationship. We broke it twice, and then we were willing to put it back together. And again, every single relationship is different. Some are to be mended and some aren't to be mended. But what's important to understand is that if you have a line 3, there is going to be part of your energy that wants to make and break bonds. Okay. Now, that's not to say that they can't, we did talk about commitment in HDX on the panel as well. It's not to say that they can't be committed relationships. As I said, Justin and I have been together nearly 22, married nearly 22 years. But being a line 3, this is even within relationship, you're non-linear. And it's really important to be kind to yourself on this, because otherwise, especially coming out of the cross of planning that era, where you can be so hard on yourself and shameful. Because I know for me in relationships when I was younger, I'd be like, oh, this is the best. And then one day, almost as simply as this, I would wake up and go, I'm done. I'm done. I'm out. And there wouldn't be a great reason. I just know that it's done and I needed to move on. And gratefully at the time, I let myself be that person. I let myself, draw the line in the sand and move on. So I would love you to share your experience with bonds made and broken, and really talk about potentially the shame that you were carrying around that and how you've transitioned into, as you say, like loving yourself just as you are more than ever.
Yeah. I have to say real quick, there was a boyfriend that I had when I think I was 19, and he went away for, I think, a week, and we were pretty serious. And by the time he came back, I was like, no, something's not sitting right. And so I think too, my parents were divorced whenever I was 2, and they each ended up divorcing later. So I have this innate knowing inside of me anyway that I'm never going to live in an unhappy relationship. And so I have, I know part of what we've talked about in the mastermind is I've been married twice. I just officially divorced in May from my second husband. And I did carry shame about being married twice. Even though the first marriage, I realized that I got into it for the wrong reasons. I was in my 20s, as we all make decisions like that sometimes in our 20s. But we were together for 10 years. So like you said, we were best friends while we were together. It was a very committed relationship and we were close. But when that ended and I got with my second husband and we got married, I left that one and am so proud that I left that one. But yet there was still this shame. However, there was no part of me that even could have stayed. And so I never thought about it as potentially being part of my 3 line. Like I almost feel like crying right now, just even thinking about it. I mean, again, I don't know if it is the 3 line saying, no, this needs to be broken. That is it. Because I know people who hold on for a very long time, unhappy. No, not me.
Yeah. And I think I love that. I know for me as a line 3, there's definitely a finite, like it's the end. When it's the end, it's the end. And I don't know why, it just is. And there were many years that I felt that way. Or there can be the subtle endings. Like I say, when you change jobs and you just don't see that person or those people every day and you see these new people. But really what I think is so beautiful about this discussion is not to shame yourselves, for the line 3s out there, don't shame yourself. You are an energy that will tend to be really close to people. And then as simple as that, move on. And you will probably find that what works well in friendships or other relationships is this ability to tap back in, whether it's a week, a month, a year, a decade, because you'll be fine with it. You probably tend not to have, unless you're carrying those bullshit stories, you'll be okay with it. So just making sure that you allow those people around you to understand that That's kind of the way that you roll. And I think it's really important as we move towards the new paradigm, because this line 3, you know, the whole relationship thing, we're moving away from the 37-40. We're moving into very individualistic times. It's, in my opinion, why we're seeing, and just my opinion, why we're seeing the diversity in sexuality right now is because we're moving away from this 40-37 energy that says it has to be like this, you know, and we're moving into this like, no, you know, and the 59 plays a massive role. So it's all about intimacy and sexuality, but your own way. So I think a lot of that also to understand for the line 3s, it's going to feel more comfortable. In its shadow state though, I would be very conscious, you know, like ask yourself, like, am I running from a fear of commitment? Because that line 3 feeling is definitely a feeling of, oh, I'm done. There's no story. There's no, I should this and I should that. Like I had plenty of stories when we were going through the hiccups in our marriage. But I always just came back to my strategy and authority, and I listened to my strategy and authority. And ultimately, you know, we're now that couple that, you know, people dream of being. We are forever couples. Like we're planning. It's so crazy. We're all of a sudden talking about what life's going to be like once the kids grow up and leave home with a 15-year-old, you know, like, and that feels really exciting. So yeah, that's really something that I'd love all those line 3s to hear. Like you guys are a little bit designed to be messy. Let yourselves be messy. Let yourselves throw the magic at the wall, and discover what's true for you. Understand that there are going to be, you know, relationships that, you know, start and finish, and that's okay. That's okay, because it's through those experiences that you're building wisdom, and ultimately that is something that's super important. You have something you want to respond to?
Yes, I just want to say that when you're talking about learning, even within those relationships, I learned so much about myself and grew through so much. And through the end of through the lessons I learned in my last marriage and what the work I did after, because we've actually, we were separated for 2.5 years before we divorced. I mean, my self-growth and self-love has catapulted because it was the learning in that relationship that made me deal with these childhood wounds and just, I mean, set me on this path of healing. So again, I wouldn't trade it for anything. I wouldn't trade the pain. I wouldn't trade any of it for anything because of the lessons I learned.
I love that. And I totally resonate. So, you know, even looking from both myself and Justin, like when we broke it, we stopped trying to be the person that we thought the other person wanted us to be. And we started to heal ourselves. You know, that was the catalytic piece for us, or the catalytic piece for us, which I think is really beautiful, because those line 3s, like, don't run away from every relationship, run through it. And maybe there's an end point, or maybe there isn't an end point, or maybe the end point's not now, maybe it's later, or maybe it's yesterday. But that's the point, is like, don't run away from it. Don't be afraid of it, because a line 3, like one of the things about a line 3 is we're very resilient. We are naturally born resilient. So if you're a line 3 and you think, oh, no, I'm not, you are. It's just that you're listening too much to your fear stories that are preventing you from having the experience. The thing about a line 3 is you're not just going to talk about the ugly divorce. You're probably going to experience the ugly divorce. Or you're not going to talk about, oh, I should make this choice to avoid that, because you're going to go through whatever you're trying to avoid to learn the lesson, to create the wisdom, which is actually what draws people to you. The line 3s are the most magnetic. And it's often because people are like, wow, you've walked in my shoes. You know how I feel. You've had that experience. And yeah, it's part of your magic. So let yourself be messy. Let yourself make and break bonds. Let yourself, you know, be a little bit magical, but also know that that resiliency is there underneath, supporting you all the time. All right, I think that's all we're going to cover. There's so much more to talk about, but we don't have time for that today. I just wanted to give you all just what you need to get a better handle on being a line 3. Is there anything else you want to add before we go, Tiffany?
I think just real quick, one story that pops in mind is just me trying out dating apps. You know, I've been trying them out for a couple of months, and it's like I'll hop in and I'll learn some lessons. I'll like get some, I'll be triggered or something will happen. And then I'll jump out and I'll do the healing. And then I jump back in, and, you know, there's just this, okay, I'm done. Okay, I'm back. So I don't know if I've definitely done a lot of healing, even just from that back and forth motion with the dating apps.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And I do think, you know, like I think very much about my life experience. So the one thing, and you guys all hear me bang on about this, is like pay attention to the external clues. And I think as a line 3, there is a part of me, especially in the past, that was desperate for those external clues, because that was showing me that things were changing. Because, you know, with a line 3, we don't necessarily just do something the first time and it changes. Like some of the other energies, the line 2s, like I have 2 line 2s in my family, and I watch them just pick up things and work shit out really fast. And sometimes I just want to bang my head on the table. But it's that piece, you know, like, yeah, understand that sometimes you're dipping your toe in back and forward, but you're always building something. You're always learning something. You're having an experience, and that experience is getting you closer to alignment, success, joy, abundance, all of those things, you know. And what I've found over the years as a line 3 is that if you no longer fear the experimentation or that fear of failure or getting it wrong or doing it the hard way, if you let go of those beliefs, it is incredibly magical what comes in. Because one of the things I know for sure is that I don't need specificity. I don't need deep clarity. I don't need any of those things to manifest my dreams. I just have to have an experience. I just have to be like, oh yeah, I want more of that and less of that. And I really believe through being a line 3 is that when we're willing to just have these experiences, and we don't, you know, label them good or bad, you know, right or wrong, we just have these experiences and know that some of them are challenging and hard and some of them feel great. And we just tap into those feelings. Like, I want to feel more of that and less of that. Magic happens, you know, like, I don't need specificity to manifest heaven on earth. I just need to have experiences and then be like, more of that, less of this. And it all just works out. Does that resonate with you, out of curiosity?
Yes, it does.
I love it. I love it. All right, beautiful people. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thanks so much, Tiffany, for sharing your journey with us.
Thank you for having me.
It's so good. I love it. And I look forward to the podcast. I think it's going to be amazing, you and Angel getting on that. So yeah, looking forward to it. Thanks everyone for being here today. Obviously, if you want to learn more about being a line 3, you want to hear deep dives into all the nuances of real lived experiments, then come and join HDX. It's our human design experience membership portal where you can be brand new or you can be someone who's certified. But you know, we get so many people. And I actually had a message this morning about this, that certify with other people. And then they're like, I don't know how to actually implement this. Like, how do I actually coach people? How do I actually implement? This little line 3's worked all that shit out for you in HDX. So come and join if you want to. We'd love to have you. Thanks for listening. I hope you are, I trust you are enjoying this series, and I look forward to having you on the next podcast. Bye for now.
Thanks everyone for being here all the way to the end of the podcast. I hope you got lots of value out of it. I certainly had a lot of fun doing it. Could I please ask that you share this podcast with friends if you found it valuable? And also, bonus points, could you leave a review for me as well on Apple? It would be greatly appreciated. If at any point you would like to be on the podcast, or you've got questions that you'd like me to discuss on the podcast, by all means get on my socials and DM me. Everything you need is there in the show notes. Have an awesome day. Bye for now.